Was watching a national show the other day, and they were talking about contenders. Same teams, Yankees, Orioles. All the Houston Astros are playing well. Of course, the Dodgers are always in the conversation, the Phillies. Not even a mention of the Milwaukee Brewers. I don't want to go down the lack of respect area because we're going to get to that here in a little bit. But the Brewers, why aren't they mentioned in that championship conversation, especially with the way they're playing? We'll get to that next year on Locked On Brewers.
You are Locked On Brewers, your daily Milwaukee Brewers podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hey, everybody. Good to have you along. Chuck Freeman, longtime sportscaster here in the state of Wisconsin, proud host of Locked On Brewers, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. We are your team every day. The episode is brought to you by PrizePicks. PrizePicks, the easiest and most exciting way to play daily fantasy sports. Go to prizepicks.com/LockedOnMLB. All lowercase Locked On MLB. And first deposit match up to $100. Yeah, so Saturday morning I get up and check my email. I subscribe to MLB and their daily newsletter. It gives you all the top stories. And of course, the Brewers are never on there. Not even a mention. So as an example, Saturday morning, I get up and I see, all right, who are the 6 teams they're going to mention today? The Brewers just got done playing and beating Cleveland, 2 of the best teams in baseball record-wise. Okay, we'll just say for argument's sake, record-wise. But you would think that'd be one of the top games mentioned. Oh, no. Boston Red Sox, L.A. Dodgers, New York Yankees with Aaron Judge. You know, you can't go without mentioning Aaron Judge. All the Phillies are in there. Oh, Bobby Witt. Okay, small. Kansas City. The Pirates. Okay, Skeens. Well, there's a love fest right now with Skeens, even though he's in Pittsburgh. But not even a mention of the Brewers and Cleveland Guardians. Again, 2 of the best records in baseball because the Brewers won. And we could talk all day about lack of respect and all that. And I get it, because what have the Brewers done since 2018? You know, we talked about having the 6th best record in baseball since 2017, but where has that got them, really? They haven't won a playoff series since 2018. And I think a lot of you guys are sitting out there, a lot of national people, maybe too, and I'm going to give them this for an out. Maybe they look at the Brewers and say, well, yeah, they're kind of a paper champion right now. They're not going out there and winning postseason games. Just how weak, and let's face it, they went out weakly in the postseason last year against Arizona, out in 27 hours. That was very weak for a division winner, a team that was strong for most of the season. And I think some people think that's going to happen again. You look at 2019, look at 2018. Okay, you beat Colorado, and then you had your chances against the Dodgers. 2021, Atlanta. You had the Braves. You could have beat the Braves. You lost, in 4 games in that series? What was it? I don't remember. 4 games it was, yeah. They lost. The Brewers couldn't hit, I remember, in that series, 2021. You lost the series. You lost again in the first round. So, again, I get the criticism. If you want to go down that road and say, well, the Brewers haven't done anything in the last few years, and that's why, I don't know if you can quite always do that, but I get it. But if you look at the Brewers, I mean, 5-game winning streak, their second 5-game winning streak in 13 games. Yeah, we all look at it and say, how the heck are they doing this? Right? I mean, anytime they go into a little bit of a flutter, a little bit of a skid, we're always like, uh-oh, here comes. Here comes. We know it's coming. Just like if you, you leave something out in the kitchen or something, leave the milk out or leave soda out or lemonade or whatever, or you spill something and you see it there, your significant other is going to say something about it. So you know it's coming. But the Brewers, man, they have it. They've picked themselves off the mat. Only team in baseball with nothing more than a 3-game skid. They've done it multiple times, but this team is just continues to amaze me. It does. They get beat. That was a terrible start to the week. baseball, MLB week, I always look at starts on a Monday. I mean, technically the week starts on a Sunday, but you're finishing up a series. So Monday. Got beat by the Dodgers Monday and Tuesday. And a lot of you out there, including me, were a little worried that the Dodgers were going to come in here and get a 4-game sweep. And there we go. Brewers won Wednesday. They came back Thursday. Split that series. And I said on Friday's podcast, that was like a win to me. Getting that series tie was like a win. So Cleveland up next. And the Brewers come out. Friday, get a win. Saturday, a 2-1 win. I laugh because they scored 4 runs in the last 2 games, the Brewers did, and won. It's like when their offense goes into, one of their deep freezes. I'm afraid, last couple of days, they've kind of gone in a little bit of a freeze here, but, day off on Monday. So last 2 days, they haven't scored much, but I feel like when their offense goes into a deep freeze, a lot of times the pitching staff picks them up. And Colin Rea did that on Sunday. Colin Rea, unbelievable. 7 innings, 2 hits, took a no-hitter into the 6th inning. And we were kind of all thinking there, 2 outs of the 6th inning, and he gave up a base hit. Got a nice round of applause. But what more do this team has got to do this year? And I get it, because we've talked about the lack of a number 1 starter, a lack of an ace. But right now, Colin Rea, Tobias Myers, pitching well. Savali gave a good one on Friday night. Freddie on Saturday gave a good one. On Saturday night, Freddie gave a good one. Montes gave a nice, he got shelled in his last outing for 3 in the first and then settled down, navigated through trouble in his next 4 innings, but he stuck around for 5 innings. But Myers, Rea, Savali, and Peralta, I get that. That's not going to strike hearts and a fear in anybody's hearts. If they want to look at the Brewers starting rotation, say, well, when they get to October, how good are these guys going to be? But right now, they're proving otherwise. Like I said, when they have dead days offensively, 4 runs in the last 2 games, 2-0 on Sunday they win, that pitching has been great. And doing it with no-name guys. It's not like the Brewers have any flashy names. Nobody knows who the Milwaukee Brewers are. Chicago Sports Radio said this back in end of May when the Brewers beat them back in, like Memorial Day, that week, the Memorial Day week. Beat them, and they say, can you name like 3 players off the Brewers roster? They were asking each other. Okay. But I think that's a lot. You go around baseball, nobody can name the Brewers roster. They do have a bunch of no-names guys, and one of their best players, Christian Yelich, gone for the season, and the Brewers, when he went on the injured list, they were like 5 games ahead. They've doubled that. They were 5.5 ahead. They've doubled that. They're 11 games out. So without one of their big cogs in the lineup, and I wanted them to go out there and get another piece to replace him, they've actually added on to their lead without Christian Yelich. Actually added on to their lead. You look at this team. Look at that outfield. Chourio, who's just been fantastic, obviously. Mitchell and Frelick. Mitchell's been in a slump. Frelick does a lot of things right in the outfield, fundamentally sound, but let's face it, so far, and we're going to do a topic on Frelick, I think maybe tomorrow, Sal Frelick hasn't been, the great player, the untouchable guy we thought he was going to be. And I remember at the trading deadline last year, I said, well, I kind of think about trading Frelick if the right offer came. Man, I got destroyed. I think some of you might change your tune right now if that offer was presented. I'm not saying I want to trade Sal, but 262 home runs, you better do a lot of other things great. We're going to give him some time yet. But you look at it, Mitchell, Frelick, Chourio. All right, Chourio's great. Mitchell and Frelick, not exactly household names either. Contreras, an all-star. Okay, we know that. Behind the plate. Just been amazing. And today, look at Haas comes in and catches. All right, drives it around the ground ball, but does so many other things correctly behind the plate. So when Contreras is in there, Haas comes in, and defensively, he and it was just fantastic. Calling pitches. Him and Colin Rea. Colin Rea has had Contreras most of the year, but him and Colin Rea just had fantastic chemistry out there. No hitter into the sixth, leaves in the eighth inning on 2 hits. And Rea, after the game, credited Haas behind the plate, Eric Haas, for being fantastic calling pitches behind the plate. So you look at that. The backup catcher. Hoskins, 20 home runs. 20 home runs, been up and down, been injured and all that. I still think Hoskins is going to have some big moments here down the stretch as the Brewers try to catch the Dodgers and Phillies. They've already caught the Dodgers. We'll get to that in a little bit. Turang at second. He's gone through his issues. Leadoff triple on Thursday. Adames, RBI single with 2 outs in the first inning on Sunday. Okay, Adames continues to be clutch. And Ortiz has come down a little bit from where he was. He did pick it up a little bit after the neck injury, after he got healed a little bit. And, he's been okay, but he hasn't been, he's not been, if you look at it right now, he's not an all-star over at third base. We wanted him in the all-star game, but he's not playing on an all-star level. So how are these guys getting it done? Bullpen. You look at the 3 guys who pitched in the game today, Sunday. Colin Rea, he was in, and I stole this from Steve Anderson on Twitter. I don't know who Steve Anderson is, but he put this on Twitter, and I thought it was pretty good. Code Red, Colin Rea, pitching in Japan in 2021. Pitch into the 8th inning. Against one of the best teams in baseball, the Cleveland Guardians. Hudson, DFA'd by the Dodgers. Brewers picked him up. Koenig was pitching in indie ball for a couple of years. So those are the guys who got the job done against Cleveland. Yeoman efforts. Colin Rea, 34 years old, journeyman, team option for next year on his contract. We'll see. I don't think the Brewers are willing to do this either. They don't want to go. They're not going to go long-term on Colin Rea. They'll probably pick up the option for next year, but there's no way the Brewers are thinking a 3-year contract for this guy just yet. I guess you risk it if he goes out and has another fantastic year next year, but that's tough to do for a guy who hasn't had a big track record so far. But Colin Rea has been great. Again, Sunday, you watch him and just got the job done, pitching into the 8th inning. That's what I love. And Devin Williams was down. They weren't going to go to Devin Williams on Sunday because he had pitched in 3 of his last 5 games. So the Brewers made a decision before the game. They were not going to use Devin Williams. So they used Hudson and Koenig to close things out. Really good. In a fast game at AmFam Field. Barely had anything to eat. Barely could walk around. 2 hours and 10 minutes. But again, you look at this team, not flashy, but this August schedule, which is tough, look what they've done so far. Atlanta. Went into Atlanta and swept the series. Cincinnati took 2 or 3 here at home last week. The Dodgers split with the Dodgers after it looked like it was going to go in the wrong direction. They had a 3-game losing streak on this homestand. Lost against Cincinnati, lost 2 straight against the Dodgers, and then they came back and beat the Dodgers twice and then swept Cleveland. Look at those bats in that Cleveland lineup. The Brewers silenced those guys. This no-name pitching staff. And I get it. We got to wait until October comes. Are we setting ourselves up for disappointment again? They're 20 games over 500 for the first time this year. And they're in that conversation for one of the best records in the National League. We're going to get to that coming up here in a little bit. A 7-3 homestand. 7-3 homestand. Did get a little scared when Jackson Chourio was hit with a pitch right there on the arm there. A little scary. Sounds like he's going to be okay. Obviously stayed in the game. But when he got hit with the pitch, there was a silence at AmFam Field. And there was oh, gosh, come on. Because things have been going so well for the Brewers. That's the last thing they need is anything to happen to their fast-rising star, who's one of the most important cogs on this team. they can't afford to lose Jackson Chourio. But by gosh, it doesn't always seem to happen to one of our sports teams, especially the Brewers. When things are going well, something like that happens. But thankfully, Murphy came out of the dugout, and Murphy made a little joke after the game. Well, Chourio's under 21. I had to go out and check him. But he says usually, I think he said that's the first time this year where he's gone out to check a player because of injury. But he said he went out and checked on Jackson because he's under 21. He said it was either going to be me or their parents. It was either going to be me or his parents going out there. So I did it. But Jackson stayed in the game. We'll see how, things, the day or two after you get by pitches, that's when you really affect. But obviously nothing wasn't broken in there. At least we hope so. Nothing was broken in there because obviously we need Jackson Chourio to make a deep run here. All right, we come back. We'll talk about the Brewers chasing. I am long overdue for a break. We'll talk about the Brewers chasing down those Phillies and Dodgers. Chuck Freeman here on Locked On Brewers, part of Locked On Podcast Network. We are your team every day. Hey, everybody, thanks for making me your first Locked On Brewers, your first listen to every day. I appreciate that. And, of course, Locked On MLB, it should be your second listen. Sully's got all the answers. I heard they were bashing the Brewers the other day. I got a little DM, the Freeman grapevine out there, got a little DM that the boys on Locked On MLB were bashed. Weren't thinking the Brewers were contenders. They were calling them pretenders or whatever. Well, I'm going to check in with Sully on that. But anyway, PrizePicks. PrizePicks is America's #1 daily fantasy sports app. Over 5 million active members. PrizePicks is the easiest, the most exciting way to play daily fantasy sports. Unlike other apps, PrizePicks, it's you against the numbers. All you do is pick more or less 2 to 6 player stat projections and watch those winnings roll right in. Get in on all the daily action with your friends. Become a part of PrizePicks community today. You could win up to 100 times your money. With a little as 4 correct picks, you could turn $10 into 1,000. But here's what you need to do. You got to download that PrizePicks app today. Use the promo code LOCKEDONMLB. That first deposit match up to $100. Locked On MLB. Use that code for PrizePicks, and you'll get that deposit match up to $100. PrizePicks. PrizePicks. Run your game. Yeah, anywhere from 2 to 6 players. If there's some players are hot or cold, go over, under, whatever. Again, you can really multiply your money. Again, you can turn 10 into 1,000 with PrizePicks. Chuck Freeman here on Locked On Brewers. Part of Locked On Podcast Network. We are your team every day. And by the way, if you're watching us on YouTube, and I appreciate that. If you're watching us on YouTube, you can also get us on the audio platforms. Wherever you download podcasts, Locked On Brewers is right there. Go to Google, Spotify, Apple, wherever you download your podcasts. We are there. Please hit the subscribe button, hit the bell. That'll alert you every time we drop an episode. If you're listening to us on those platforms right now, well, please tune us in on YouTube as well. Please go to YouTube. Help the channel out. Go to subscribe on you. First of all, go to YouTube, search Locked On Brewers, hit the subscribe button, hit the bell. That'll alert you every time we drop an episode on Locked On Brewers. Tomorrow on Locked On Brewers, on Tuesday's episode, we will be previewing the Cardinals series. JD is going to be joining us from Locked On Cardinals. Talk a little bit about him and preview the Cardinals series coming up. We're going to talk about Sal Frelick as well. Sal Frelick, where do we stand on Sal Frelick? That's on tomorrow's show. All right, chasing down the Dodgers and Phillies. I know some of you don't think it's realistic, but if you look at it right now, the Brewers are right now in the National League. Brewers have 52 losses. And you got to look at the loss column on this. Brewers have 52 losses. Dodgers have 52 losses. Now, the Dodgers has 73 wins. Milwaukee has 72. Milwaukee's got to play one more game. That's why you always look in the loss column on this. Philadelphia's got 51 losses. So in the loss column, Philadelphia is 1 game ahead of both the Dodgers and Phillies. And the Brewers right now with the highest winning streak in the National League at 5 in a row. It's still there, man. It's plenty right there. The Dodgers just took 2 or 3 from the Cardinals this weekend. Philly got beat by Washington on Sunday, but it's still plenty there. I mean, it isn't great to see the Brewers 11 games ahead of 61 and 63 St. Louis. This series with the Cardinals was supposed to be a huge series. Let's say 4 weeks ago, when this was on the schedule, when we looked at this game being on the schedule, and I know a lot of Brewers fans are traveling down there for this series, you looked at it and say, oh man, the Cardinals got something to play for in this series, and so do the Brewers because they're trying to chase us down. But if you look at it now, the Cardinals are basically playing for a wild card spot, although they are 5 games out of the wild card, having lost 7 of their last 10 games. Yeah. So end of the day off on Monday, Brewers travel to St. Louis, and then they have Oakland coming up next weekend. And Oakland is not going to be easy. Not going to be. We'll get more into Oakland coming up a little bit later on as we move on through the week. We might touch a little bit on the A's tomorrow. So anyway, just amazing what the Brewers are doing. Just amazing. 2 5-game winning streaks in the last 13 games. So they won a 5-game winning streak, a 3-game skid, and now riding that 5-game winning streak once again. Somebody who asked me on Twitter, why aren't the Brewers on Sunday Night Baseball? Why aren't the Brewers on? Oh, I know why. Because the Yankees. Well, the Yankees are playing that game in Portsmouth. So, or where were they playing? Now, where were they playing that game? The Yankees are playing where they played the Little League World Series. That's where the Yankees are playing. Williamsport, Portsmouth. Williamsport, Pennsylvania. That's where they played it. Hey, I guarantee you those East Coast cities get our cities in Wisconsin messed up all the time. So, yeah, the Yankees and Tigers were on the ESPN game. Hey, you don't want to put Cleveland and Milwaukee on there. Of course not. You don't want 2 of the best teams in baseball on Sunday Night Baseball. God forbid. You don't want that. They did make the Fox game on Saturday night, though, with Jeff Levering on the call. Did a real good job. All right. Robin Yount. It was Robin Yount Day Sunday at AmFam Field. And if you're in the plus 40 crowd, you'll remember Robin Yount, one of the all-time great Milwaukee Brewers, Hall of Famer, 1999, first ballot Hall of Famer. And he told some stories. They honored Robin Yount on Sunday for not the 50th anniversary, but it was 50 years ago, 1974, when Robin Yount was called up at the age of 18, called up from single A ball to play shortstop for the Brewers. And there it was, Robin Yount, 1974. He made his debut, and he was on the opening day roster in 1974, 18 years old. Now we talk about Jackson Chourio being 20, Robin at 18. And it took Robin a little bit to get going. If you look at Robin and Chourio's career, whole different time in baseball, obviously. Chourio is, well, we shouldn't even make any comparisons because this is 2 different eras right there, weight training and everything else. But Robin was like one of the original young guys that the Brewers brought up. And he stayed here for 20 years, won 2 MVPs, 1982 as a shortstop, 1989 as a center fielder. And he almost left after the 1989 season. He talked about that on Sunday at AmFam Field. He talked about it in this press conference. And I knew that. I remember I was covering that. He almost left for the Angels because, can you believe it? The Brewers were not willing. He didn't say this, but the Brewers were not willing to pay Robin Yount $3 million a year in the winter of 1990, just after the 89 season. He eventually agreed to a 3-year, $9 million contract. I mean, mind-boggling. Robin Yount's worth $35-40 million today a year if he played. 3 years. The Brewers in 1990 were haggling. The Angels were going to give him what he wanted. And he also talked about, I was thinking about going to the Angels because they had serious thoughts of contending. Gene Autry, the owner at the time, was in his later years, and they were going to go for it. They were serious about contending, and the Brewers weren't serious about contending. They weren't spending any money, and they weren't doing the things. Some of you will say times haven't changed with the Brewers. But 1990, he almost went to the Angels because the Brewers, he didn't feel we're doing enough to get back to the World Series. And he saw the end of his career coming up here, and he wanted to go back to the World Series. He ended up staying with Milwaukee, agreeing to that 3 year, $9 million, 3 years, nine. That just sounds silly to say. 3 years, $9 million contract. He agreed to it. And by the end of 93, he was done. So, or was it 90? Yeah, 93. He played 20 years. Or was it 94? He played 20 years. 1978, I remember when he was going to become a golf pro. He held out. I think he had a contract issue then too. But he thought about becoming a golf pro. And so what happened, the Brewers called up Paul Molitor, and he played shortstop. And we all know what Marvelous Molitor turned into. One of the all-time great hitters in baseball history. And I would argue the best player in Brewers history. Maybe that's for another day. But Robin Yount, certainly, you could argue either one of these guys, the best. And Molitor later left for free agency in 92. Robin stayed, and he said he was born to be a Milwaukee Brewer. He said it at the press conference today. All right, we'll come back. We'll take one final look at what's ahead this week and an injury update as well. All that coming up next here on Locked On Brewers. FanDuel is America's #1 sportsbook. FanDuel is, you know why? Because they all offer all sorts of bonuses. This is one of the reasons why. All sorts of bonuses. All FanDuel customers can bet $5 and get a 3-week free trial of the NFL Sunday Ticket. You kidding me? All FanDuel customers can bet $5, get a 3-week trial free of the NFL Sunday Ticket from YouTube and YouTube TV. Then with your YouTube TV base plan, all you'll be able to do is you'll be able to watch every regular season NFL game, Sunday afternoon out-of-market game. All you need is a Google account and a current form of payment, and you can cancel at any time. How about that? FanDuel. I love this promotion. You heard us talk a lot about FanDuel. They're America's #1 sportsbook. Check it out, FanDuel.com. But, wow, all customers, now through September 22nd, bet $5, get a 3-week free trial of the NFL Ticket from YouTube and YouTube TV. Visit FanDuel.com/lockedon to download America's #1 sportsbook. Brewers have the day off, and they were slight favorites against the Guardians the last 3 games. Hope you all cashed in. Don't ever bet it. A buddy of mine was driving to the ballpark Sunday. Guy who always thinks the Brewers run is going to end. He said, I'm going to bet against the Brewers today. And I said, don't do that. They're going to sweep this series. Sure enough, haven't heard from him since. So I'm sure he's crying in his beer tonight. Single guy. Chuck Freeman, Locked On Brewers. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network. We are your team every day. Christian Yelich did have his back surgery done on Friday. Was not with the team at all this weekend. Had back surgery and was resting. And hopefully that clears up his back issues. Cross our fingers on that. And he's ready to go. We talked about this last Friday about, hey, get it done early with season to spare. So we have the rest of this season to rest that back, get ready in the off season whenever, the doctors give you the go ahead again. And with modern technology and all that, modern medicine, I should say too, hopefully he is back working out and getting ready for the team, getting ready for 2025. So that's the deal with Christian Yelich. Off day coming up on Monday, and the Brewers get back in on Tuesday with a 3-game set in St. Louis. And, of course, we'll have all the coverage right here on Locked On Brewers. Coming up on Tuesday morning, we'll preview that entire series. JD from Locked On Cardinals, who does an amazing job. Talk a little bit about him. And coming up on the show also tomorrow, we'll talk about Sal Frelick. Where are we standing on Sal Frelick these days? Colin Rea gives them a big effort. Pitches into the 8th inning, 7+ innings on 2 hits. And the Brewers now have a 5-game winning streak once again. Flying high. Yeah, they are one of the best teams in baseball. There ain't no denying it. MLB Network cannot talk about our team. All right. MLB.com cannot put us on the headlines at all, even though Adam McKelvey does a great job covering the team. They could do whatever they want, but we know, hey, 20 games over the 500 mark and in the thick of having one of the top 2 seeds and the National League. We'll talk to you all coming up late Monday night, early Tuesday morning on Locked On Brewers.